Welcome to Room at the Table, an opportunity for you to join me, Betsy Cerulo, and my guests for conversations about creating equitable and inclusive workplaces where leaders rise above mediocrity and our teams thrive. Pull up a chair. There's always room at the table. Welcome to another meaningful conversation on Room at the Table. I am Betsy Cerulo, your host, and welcome to my guest today, Linda Landon, president of Linda Landon and Associates, a master coach, accomplished author, and human design specialist. Today, we're talking about the concept of human design and how to weave it into our daily lives. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get started. Linda, it is so great to see you, and thank you for being here.
Hey, Betsy. Good morning, and I'm delighted to be here and reconnect with you in this way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm so interested, impressed, fascinated by the work that you do in human design, and I'm so excited for my listeners who are in leadership roles, who are in workplaces, are doing amazing things in their lives, get to discover human design and see how they can really enhance their lives. So let's get right to it. What is human design and how does it support balance and joy?
Okay. Well, first of all, I suspect that many of you listening have by this time already heard of human design because it's become kind of a thing. It's a personality assessment tool, but it's different than things like DISC or Myers-Briggs because it really works with you as an energy system. And as you know, we're all energetic beings. So human design is an energetic assessment tool that shows you who you were designed to be. And it points to how to live at the highest expression of what you were born with. It's like a genetic code that you were born with, and it's very, very specific.
What had you, now I'm gonna kind of deviate a little bit from some of the questions. What had you get into this?
Oh gosh. Well, as you know, Betsy, because we go back, I'm always exploring cutting edge ways to really understand and know myself so I can transmit that into my coaching with my clients. So, I've gone through these processes. When we met each other years ago, I was involved with the 4 Agreements. And then I moved I've always done spiritual work. And then I worked extensively with the Enneagram, which is another way of knowing yourself. And I actually used to teach that. So human design, I was invited to experience human design. And as you'll learn in a moment, the type that I am responds best to invitations.
Fascinating. Yeah. Fascinating. You know what? I do want to ask, you work with different types of people when you're in your coaching work. Do you want to say a little bit about the type of coaching that you do?
Well, that's evolved a lot as well. When we met, I was working primarily with people in recovery from mental health issues and addiction. And in these days, I think we're all in recovery, and we're really in recovery from this ego-based identity that tries to keep us small and blocked and from being our authentic selves. So these days I work with my sweet spot is working with couples who've been together for a while, who are starting to drift apart, fight, and they're not having any sex. So I'm actually, as we'll talk about maybe later, publishing a book for these couples. And human design is one of the components that I use with them. I also work with a lot of single professional women, lawyers, doctors, therapists, and some men, but I get a lot of women who are professionals who are trying to find a way to have life balance because they're working really hard and they're getting burned out all the time and they're not having any fun.
No, I can certainly relate to that at different times in my life. And I have to check in with myself all the time because I'm just going to say this. I know sometimes it's a generalization, but as women, we're kind of expected to be super women. And I wear my cape very proudly, whatever color I wear. But then I know that it's also to my detriment, because if I'm moving in that mode more than I should be, it impacts the balance and the joy.
Yeah.
And, so I'm grateful to you for that work and for the empowerment that you give to so many professional women, because as leaders, we have to be at our best all the time. And your work is so important. So what improvements have your clients reported back to you as a result of this work?
May I start with a little improvement here and then go to my client? Because
Absolutely.
This is the thing that just was so mind-blowing. So 15 years ago, I was introduced to human design, and I was told that I'm something called a projector, which you also are, as we know. And projectors are here to wait to be recognized and invited. And then we come out and share our wisdom and guide others to do the heavy lifting and do big things. Well, when I found out that I was a projector, I was shocked. Because I had been trying so hard to be the doer, get it done, the superwoman. And I kept getting to a certain point, and then things would workshops wouldn't fill, clients would leave, and I'd get sick over and over. So it took me a long time to shift into another gear, and now my life is in flow. So this is an experience that happens for my clients. They come to me because they're stuck, they're challenged, they're burnt out, they're unhappy, they're not doing what they love. And always, even after the first or second session, when we simply look at their chart, and the chart isn't everything that I do, there's so much more, but when they start to get a flavor of what the chart is saying about them, you see this relief come over them. This breath and this spaciousness is this, oh my gosh.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. And it validates the things you've been struggling with. And it also opens doors for them to move in a way that feels much more in alignment. Yeah.
Well, let's get to the good stuff. So the chart, I know you have done my chart, you do your chart. So what I want to do is some people will be listening to the podcast audio. So since not everyone will be able to see what you're going to talk about, would you like to share your website as to where someone can go have their chart done?
Yes. And then I'm going to back up and add a piece that I didn't, which I think is kind of important. So what I'd invite you to do as you're listening is go to my website, which is Ignite, IGNITE, your, YOUR, joy, JOY.US, and then /human, HUMAN -design. You go to that page, it has a illustration, a little description, and then there's a place that says click here. And if you click there, we'll run your chart and email it to you along with my book, Ignite Your Vitality Using Human Design. So that's how you, as you listen, I would say, when you've gotten this far on the audio, pause, go get your chart, and then come back.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I know too, when we have the podcast out there will be a transcript that will have this written there too. So if anyone hasn't written it down and wants to come back to it later, we will have it released with the podcast. So not to worry. All right, Masterful Coach, I'm turning it over to you. Let's see who we are.
All right. So backing up a little bit, what I didn't say is that human design is a synthesis of centuries old traditions, the I Ching, astrology, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, and quantum physics. So it's grounded in age-old traditions that work. So I'm going to show a chart in a moment. And then what I'm going to do is talk about the top umbrella of all of it, which are the 5 types of human design, the 5 types in human design. And then we'll go from there. And Betsy, please jump in, ask questions, because it's much more fun when we're having a conversation than if I'm just downloading information. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and I have Betsy's permission, is I'm going to share her chart. So you get a sense of what a human design chart looks like. So when you receive your own chart, it's going to look something like this. And don't worry if it makes no sense to you whatsoever. That's okay. Because the book gives you information. And then if you decide at some point to have your own session, it will start to make sense. But even with the chart and the book, you can start moving into more alignment with who you were born to be. So let's see. I'm going to talk about the 5 types, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what all these different shapes mean. And then, jump in. So in the cosmology of human design, there are 5 kinds of people. And we are all essential parts of a huge jigsaw puzzle, which makes up humanity. About 8% of the population are people that we call manifestors. And manifestors are pretty unusual, only like 8%. And those are people who can just frigging create and do something with no help from anyone else. They manifest. The rest of us may be trying to just manifest, but it doesn't work like that. Manifestors can be very secretive. They can be mysterious. They go disappear off on their own, and then they come back with their next thing. And they have big energy. Mm-hmm. So what's important for each of the types is that they practice their strategy. And for a manifestor, it's very important that they practice their strategy of informing. Slowing down, because they move really fast. Mm-hmm. So manifestors need to slow down long enough to say to someone who matters to them, like their significant other or their team, or, the people that are connected to them, what they're about to do, so that those people don't feel like they're being left out and mad, and you don't feel bothered as a manifestor. You can say, I've got it. I'll be back. You're not asking for permission or help. You're just letting them know, and then you go do your thing.
So question.
Yeah.
So you say, 8% are the manifestors. Out of this 8%, are these manifestors authentic manifestors, or are they fakers? Trying to look like they are. So is this able to disseminate the authentic manifestor versus the wannabes?
That's such a great question. So I think we're all conditioned to be wannabes. Want to be something that we aren't necessarily designed to be. So one of the things that we learn to do in human design and in other, kinds of work is remove the layering, the conditioning, the projection field of what we're not. Like in the founder of human design is called Ra Uru Hu, and he called it you're not self. So when you start to learn human design and follow the strategy for your type, you start to remove the not self, and then you just land in your authenticity. So the manifestor starts to land in being that. Mm-hmm. I have clients in their 70s, women who are manifestors. And when they were little, they were conditioned to shut it down.
Makes sense.
So they diminished their magnificence. So part of the work that they do with me is to drop it, really move into alignment. So it starts to sort of filter out, Betsy.
Yep. It's interesting because I certainly remember in a lot of different leadership work I've done and continue to do that sometimes the most valuable asset on the team is the quietest one on the team. So you would not think that person is the manifestor, but that person is bringing a piece of information or a perspective that helps to manifest the greater good of whatever the group is doing. So
absolutely,
I see. You're right. We all have little sprinklings of being manifestors, and whatever category you fall in, it's not right or wrong, or good or bad? Because at first, when you had sent this to me last month and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Or is that okay? So, you have that little bit of like, but I see it. We all have the
Well, and the thing
sprinklings.
is, we all get to manifest. We all have, all right, I'm going to segue a little bit. Manifestors are the only ones who do this without needing to be in relationship with anything or anybody.
Okay.
The rest of us have other ways to create and make things happen.
Got it.
And we all have what we call a throat center, which is the center for manifestation. So people get thrown by the words. Let me go through the other 4 types and then let's really dig in even further. So I know I'm pointing at Betsy's chart and just maybe I shouldn't even screen share it.
It's okay.
We'll leave it up there. So they're manifestors. Then we have manifesting. Let's go to the generators. So generators are about 37% of the population. And those are people who build and create and do and make things happen. But the thing with a generator is they do that in relationship with other people. So they're interacting all the time. So you have a generator on your team and you're having a team meeting and you're talking about, a project, and the generator hears something and they respond with an offering of something they can do. And then they go do it. So the generator is always in relationship. So a manifestor may not say a word and go create something that nobody ever even considered. And the generator is going to respond to what's needed in the moment and offer that.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Now, what's important with the generator is they follow their strategy. And their strategy is to listen to a gut response, not to their head, not to what they're thinking, but to something deep in their belly. And it has a sound of uh-huh, uh-uh, or yep, no. It's just a intuitive gut response. So when you have a generator, it's important to ask them simple yes-no questions, and you can go really deep with yes-no. And their sacral will go, uh-huh, uh-uh, uh-uh, uh-uh. It's like it knows. And so with generators and generator clients, I really encourage them to listen to their gut and not their head, because their gut will give them their truth. So like you're in a team meeting and Betsy, you may say, would you like to do this? Pointing to your generator, and they go, uh-uh. Then that's not for them, and you ask them if they want to do something else, or you change your question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a generator sound, even though we're projectors. So those are generators. And then we have manifesting generators, which are another like 35% of the population. And they're a hybrid of the manifestor and the generator. So they're here to respond moment by moment by moment, but they move super fast like a manifestor. So generators are more like, if you take this, like the analogy of the tortoise and the hare, like they're in a race, but they're all both going to the same destination. The generator is full on steady, one step at a time moving forward. The manifesting generator is like boop, 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 like the tortoise. Like the hare. But at the end, they wind up at the same place. Manifesting generators move fast. They respond. They can also disappear and come back, and they can skip steps. So if you have a team member who's a manifestor, don't be surprised if they skip steps. They miss things sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, they can circle back, or somebody else will clean up the mess.
Yeah, oftentimes, one of the things I guide people on, and myself, go slow to move fast. Because when we move fast, you make mistakes or you overlook something, and we or someone else has to come back and fix it. So it's better slow and steady wins the race. That's usually my mantra.
It's your mantra, and your manifesting generators may not go with that.
Correct.
And that's okay.
Yes.
Like I was doing a team training, and the manifesting generator in the room was listening, looking at their phone, and typing emails. And everybody was like, oh, but I said, he was really present. The manifesting generator has got more than one thing going on at a time. And the manifesting generator has a strategy of waiting to respond. So they're in response, but they're also got that manifesting piece. So they need to inform what they're up to before they go disappear.
Is the disappear could also be before they forget the thought?
Yes. So, you have to work with it. They need to learn how to stay put, inform you of what they're up to before they go do their thing, which is something they're doing in response to whatever arose in, say, your meeting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Now, let's talk about projectors, because you're a projector and I'm a projector. And projectors we make up about 20% of the population. And we are here to be recognized for our wisdom. We're here to guide. And you notice how I describe projectors, I slow down. It's a more, right? Slow down energy. We're here to guide and direct others. And we have to wait to be invited, to be recognized and invited. And then we go in. And for instance, when you're, running a company, you are already invited to be, the CEO. So you have the invitation. And then you are there with your great wisdom and ability to see the big picture, to guide and direct the others. And it's your generators and your manifesting generators who are going to do most of the heavy lifting.
Right.
And the other thing I didn't say, which is so important, generators and manifesting generators have what we call steady, sustainable energy. They get up, they can work all day when they're doing what they love. They have to do what they love and then sleep really well. They also need to get a lot of exercise because they have tons of energy to burn. Projectors and manifestors and reflectors, which I'm just going to briefly mention, have what we call unsustainable, very intermittent kind of energy. So we work in spurts and then we need to rest. And as projectors and manifestors, when we're around those generators with all that energy, we can take in their energy and borrow it.
Yeah.
And then we can be like, woohoo, get a lot done. But once we step out of that field, we need to.
Oh, yeah. Need to go in. So can human design, can it shift over a person's lifetime?
The chart does not change. However, how you are living through that chart, or how that chart lives through you, evolves and changes. For instance, let's just poke around here a little bit. So these shapes roughly represent the chakras. These are the centers for what we call the head, and this is the processing center, the ajna. This is the throat. This is called the heart or G center, will center. This is a center here for how you process emotions. And this is a center it's called the spleen center. And the spleen is all about health, survival, time, and working with fear. And then this center, which is open or white in your chart. And I apologize to those who aren't looking, but you'll get a glimpse when you get your chart. This center down here is called the sacral center. For us, it's white or open. And for generators, it's red or colored in. And this is like the root center. Where was I going? When a center, and all these little numbers are called gates, and these are little portals of energy through which the energy moves through your chart. When a center or a gate is what we call colored in or defined, you have polarities. You can be a high expression of that energy, or you can be a low expression of that energy. For instance, let's take on your chart, let's go up here. So this, on Betsy's chart, she has her head and her ajna filled in, which means defined. And when the energy is defined in someone's chart, they have steady, consistent access. And she has steady and consistent access to thinking and processing and figuring things out, which is a gift.
That sounds accurate.
Right? And that energy.
And a curse sometimes.
Well, that's the thing. So the good news is that it's in the higher expression, it serves you and it transmits out, and people actually feel and experience your clarity of thinking. The lower expression is overthinking, over-doubting. You have the gate of doubt. You can turn that doubt inwards and make it, it can feel harmful. Whereas in its highest expression, doubt is about doubting the system and the structure and creating something better.
You know what's interesting? When I have the self-doubts, immediately, because, like yourself, I'm tapped into my spirituality and my intuition. But immediately when I doubt myself, the words come back to me, you know what to do. And I honor that. And I'm like, all right, I hear it. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And you have the gate of doubt in a very strong part of your chart. So learning to work with it skillfully is a gift for you. Yeah. I want to just quickly mention there's a type called the reflector. And a reflector's chart has every single one of these centers white. None are filled in.
And
why's
that?
Well, I can't say the why, but I can say what it's like for them. Is I can only say as an outsider, because I don't know what it's like to be a reflector. But when all their centers are white, they're taking in energy and reflecting it back. So they are indeed reflectors, and reflectors are deeply sensitive, very nuanced, very sensual, very responsive, and they're like shapeshifters. Because
almost like an artist.
Yes. Some artists can be that. There's that fluidity, that artistry that gets reflected. And what's really important with the reflector is that they're in a community that's healthy and good. And when it's healthy and good, they're healthy. But if they're in a community or a team situation that's toxic, they will reflect the toxicity back to others, and it will make the reflector sick. Deeply sensitive, incredible. And they have energy, but it's always energy they're taking in from others and amplifying. So they get to play. Yeah.
What I find interesting is that artists, celebrities who are in their 70s and 80s continue to perform. Some of that could be money motivated, but many times you'll hear them say they love the work. Obviously, their hearts are full when they hear their fans and the appreciation in playing all the old stuff because they know the fans appreciate that. I don't see a lot of that with people who are in business. I think most of us, because the truth is at some point I will probably retire. Some of us tend to leave that left brain stuff behind and then start to move towards some things that are a little bit more creative. So I haven't, Warren Buffett and a couple people out there are different, but most of the time it's artists that they keep creating until they die.
So can I play? I want to play with this. I have Oprah Winfrey's chart. So Oprah Winfrey, actually, she is a creative. She's incredibly creative, and she's been she's acted. And so when you look at her chart, you'll notice there's something different going on here than in Betsy's. Like Betsy, she has these two centers colored in, but she has something Betsy and I don't have. She has this sacral center colored in. This is the biggest, what we call motor in your chart. This is the center for building and creating and doing what you love. And when you're doing what you love, you can go into your 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
I have a spiritual teacher, Polly. She's 86. She's a generator, and she's got this definition, and she loves what she does.
Yeah.
Oprah also has, over here again, for those of you who aren't looking, there's a center called the spleen center, which is the center for health and well-being, and it's defined. So there's a robust sense of sort of inherent vitality in this woman. You know, it's just...
Yeah. Well, she radiates joy. She looks fabulous. You know, truth be told, when people are sometimes in a certain income level, they're not out there raking the leaves or mowing the lawn as the rest of us are doing. But I see her radiate so much joy, even in her 70s, that she's definitely wired in a very majestic way.
So majestic, she also has the gate of the queen. Mm-hmm. But so she's got the gate of the queen, and she is doing what she loves.
Yeah.
And she's in response all the time, in response to people, places, things, situations. You know, her show, her pot, all of it is always in response to what's asked of her from the audience. Mm-hmm. So that's an example of someone who's living the grace and beauty of their chart. Now, when we go back to some people in corporate, regardless of their type, but particularly, let's say, if they're a generator or a manifesting, let's break it down. If you have someone in a corporate environment who's a generator or a manifesting generator, and they're not doing what they love, that's a recipe for burnout.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a projector in a corporate environment who's not being recognized and called out and trying to keep up with all the generators, that's a recipe for burnout. And also a manifester. If a manifester isn't given the freedom and permission to just go off and do their thing and then bring it back to the team, they're going to burn out.
Yes. It just seems like the common theme with burnout is when you're engaging in activities that don't fill your soul. We all have it. You know, there's certain times of the year where my schedule gets pushed because of certain deadlines, and I crash after some of that. So we all have it. But where you said, you know, igniting the joy and the balance is important.
And then particularly with a projector, if you do that big push, my guess is that you're taking in the energy from your team, you're amplifying it, you're running circles around them, but when you're done, you really need to let go. You really need to chill and relax and recharge. And you've learned that.
Yes.
And
finally.
And it's so gorgeous that you're a projector because you're the leader. You're the one who holds the vision and guides the others.
Yeah. And I have found a lot more satisfaction and joy, you know, listening, pulling back, you know, having, like yourself, just having had a really wonderful career filled with highs and lows. I'm at a stage in my career where I don't have to be out in front. I really want to step back and listen, because I think that leadership combined with that strong listening and the intuition is much healthier for organizations and for myself, especially in these times, because everything is so unpredictable.
So unpredictable, so uncertain. And I'm looking at your chart, even though it's not posted, some other gifts that you have. So listening for sure, you actually have the gate of the person who can listen, reflect on the past, and when the timing is right, you share your wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've learned very much when to pull back, know my audience, whether it's one person or a group, and then put in I'll call it wisdom. They may not call it wisdom, but I'll just call it wisdom, or the thought.
And would you also say that you have a skill of being able to look at the past and look at patterns and discern which ones are useful and which ones aren't?
Absolutely. I now steer away very quickly from energy behaviors that came from my past that were sources of discomfort or pain. So it's interesting, you know, my wife and I could be somewhere, or we could be in conversations, and I get that energy, and on the way home, I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not going there. No, I'm not accepting that invitation. That didn't feel right. Nope.
And that's a skill set that's highlighted in your chart.
Yeah.
And I realized I made a mistake there. With projectors and reflectors and manifestors, it actually works better to ask you open-ended questions. So like, Betsy, how are you at reflecting back at patterns and making this, it's like,
I laugh now, like,
yeah. But with
we
generators and manifesting generators, it serves to ask them just yes, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that chart, that was so fascinating. And I really hope that the listeners, and including my staff, when they hear this, that they go back and do the charts. So I want to ask you, now that there's a little bit more about myself, how do you think this information would guide me in my work and business relationships?
Where do I start?
In a minute.
In a minute. I mean, there's so many ways to look at this. Knowing your type and strategy, and there's also something called authority, which we didn't get into, can guide how you communicate with others. It guides how you network with others. It can inform how you market yourself and your company. Mm-hmm. Like marketing strategies for projectors are different than others, but also there's so many layers, because also when we think that generators and manifesting generators are like 78% of the population, we also want to skillfully create marketing that appeals to them. So, I mean, I feel like human design can be a template you can use for everything, for relationship, for business building, for leadership, for just truly knowing yourself and thriving is that.
Yep. Well, interestingly enough, in a networking situation, the people that know how to work the room, that will get to the room. That's not my style. I typically, based on whatever organization or type of conference I'm going to, I do a lot of research beforehand. I prepare who's best suited for my networking. I stand back, I watch, and then I go. And I have to give since I'm on the introverted side, I have to give myself a reward. Okay, so if I talk to and network with, say, 5 people, then I'm going to go get myself my favorite Starbucks drink. You know what I mean? Or I have literally walked through an entire ballroom that's filled. I go to the opposite end and I tell myself, in order for me to go back to my room or go have dinner, I must walk thoroughly through that crowd and meet a certain amount of people. And that's how I do it. I have to have a reward at the end.
Yeah.
Even if it means leaving.
And can I say more to that, looking at your chart? So there's another element of the chart called your profile, or how you move through the world. And you have a profile that says, and I'm going to say, and then I want to see how this lands for you. Yep. You're someone who's deeply relational. Networking, connecting is everything to you. And you're also a hermit.
Yes.
You love your alone time.
Oh, yes.
So you take your alone time and you do your investigation and your planning, and then you go in and you create relationship.
Yes.
And as a projector, we need to wait. When we go into a room, we also need to wait for people to see us and call us out, because we're like these lighthouses. Mm-hmm. So I have this client, she's an attorney, and she hates networking meetings.
Yeah.
She's a projector.
Yeah.
So she's learned to go in and just be herself and listen. That's your skill set. And then people start to open up and share with her. And then maybe they ask her questions. Yes. But you just get to be the light that you are as a projector. And the networking happens. Does that feel, how's that land for you?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my I don't know if I call it tactics, but one of my strategies is when I go to a conference or something, I wear something very bright. Typically, when I go to something that's government related, most people are in dark suits. Men, women, it's the same. I typically go sit in the front row, even when no one's sitting there. I have definitely won business because someone picked me out. I wear something bright, Or if I go to certain conferences based on the nature of the conference, I may wear something that's kind of themed and colorful, because then people are attracted to that and come to me, so I don't have to go work the room. But when people come up and talk to me, I'm very engaged. I listen. We have great collegiality, but that helps to attract people to me with color.
Beautiful. That's a great tip that I want to pass on to my clients.
Yeah.
Who are scared in networking, because you're meant to shine. And with the color, you shine even more, and people recognize you.
Oh, yeah.
And then they call you out.
And it makes me happy. So if I'm happy, I'm more willing to want to go engage rather than go into my hermit self. And I like my hermit self.
Your hermit self. I have hermit also. We love our hermit time, and then it's time to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Linda, as we wrap up, this has been so informative. I'm just really excited for our listeners to get their charts done, to read your book, to learn more about you. So as we wrap up, how can our listeners find you and your books?
So my website is Ignite, IGNITE, your, YOUR, joy, JOY.US. My email is Linda, as you see on the screen, at igniteyourjoy.us. So you can contact me directly. And then as I gave that link at the beginning of the audio where you can go and get a copy of your chart in the book. Once you've received your chart in the book, you can also reach out to me for a free mini consultation to talk about, what you're discovering and what could be next for you in this, in this exploration of human design.
Wonderful. Well, I can't tell you how important that this conversation is at this time in the world, that we tap into those sides of us to get, better idea and understanding of who we are, and also find that balance that brings us joy. Because as there tends to be some darkness around, we can make it lighter by standing in our light. So I really, really appreciate this conversation today, Linda.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm wondering if your audience would like to hear the title of the book I'm about to publish.
Yeah, please do. So they can look for it.
Yeah, and if you sign up for your chart, then I'll have your email and I can send you information. But I'm about to publish a book, Pleasure Past 50, Rekindle Your Sexual Intimacy with the Ignite Method and Human Design. So it's all this plus some spicy pleasure practices. And it's, it's a projector generated book. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Well, listeners, we're here to keep everything bright and happy and interesting. So, Linda, I thank you for being here today. And to everyone out there, I wish you so much joy. And we just keep coming back, as Linda and I say over the years, and a lot of our work in recovery, and just be true to yourself and love yourself. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thanks for listening to Room at the Table. If you've enjoyed this episode, follow us on your favorite listening platform and share this episode with a colleague or 2 or 3. For resources to help you lead with purpose and build more equitable workplaces, visit roomatthetablepodcast.com.